All right, we're live and we're back on the Media Virus podcast. Now, listen, we meant to do this before 420, but in true Media Virus fashion, and because we're a bunch of stoners, we're running a little behind. Call it 420-ish, fashionably baked, or just on brand for us. Well, what better way to celebrate the high holy holiday of weed culture than to talk about the real benefits of cannabis? Not just not just lighting up and zoning out, but actually using this plant to heal, focus, sleep better, manage pain, and live smoother. Joining us today is Ginefra, the man behind Botana Organics. He's a health and wellness shop that specializes in, but is definitely not limited to, hemp products. Jesse has his finger on the pulse of the cannabinoid world, helping people dial in their wellness routine with natural plant-based products that actually work. You can stalk him on Facebook or check out everything Botana Organic offers at www.botanicaorganics.com. I'm sure you've heard us do a couple spots so far. We're talking all things cannabis, how the science of cannabinoids is evolving, what people are really using this stuff for, and how wellness shops like Botana Organic are doing it smarter, cleaner, and better than ever. Jesse, welcome to the Media Virus podcast. Thanks for helping us celebrate 420, even if we are a little bit late. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Grateful to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Grateful to have you, man. So, let's start, with the basics, for folks who think that CBD is just, weed without the fun. Not for nothing. CBD can be very fun, especially if you're like, dude, I have taken like CBD, maybe more than the recommended dose than what they tell you. And you get a nice body feeling from it.
Right.
It does help with pain and other things like that. But why should people care about more than just THC?
Well, the plant has more than just THC. So I guess my whole philosophy is kind of like the back to nature thing. So you want to utilize the gifts that nature gave you in their original state. Originally, hemp or cannabis had THC and CBD as he sparks it up.
What?
So I think that THC is great, but it's not the only thing that's in the raw plant. So we should look scientifically and understand what kind of other compounds are in there. And
yeah,
it's pretty cool that there's over 120 cannabinoids that they've discovered. And they've also done a lot of studies that have shown that the whole plant works a lot better in its natural synergy, something called the entourage effect.
Yeah. I believe in using it in its natural state. I prefer to consume it whole, but I don't even in whole. It's just a constant. No, but you mentioned over 100, 120. I forget the number you actually used.
Yep.
But now the terminology that we have used here is we hear about the minor cannabinoids, and I don't know if that's a fair thing. Are they minor? But the CBG, the CBN, the THC-Phe, what do the lesser known compounds do that makes them, this? I remember sitting out, dude. I was sitting. I think I told this story before. Mm-hmm. Sitting in your shop, Pat was helping a customer, and they came in looking for an appetite suppressant. Mm. And I was like, what? Because it's, weed makes people hungry. That's the joke. You know what I mean? You don't think about walking into but they were having this conversation about THCV. And I had, I've heard of THCP, I've heard of THCO, HHC, all these cannabinoids, but this one so tell us a little bit more about the minor cannabinoids and what you do.
So that's been kind of a fun unfolding process as the hemp industry began to grow. Obviously, in the beginning, it was just all about CBD. Even when we first opened up, I knew about some of the other ones, but I thought that they would only play a role like in full spectrum, where they just contain a trace of those minor cannabinoids. But recently, in like the last 3 or 4 years, they've started to isolate those minor cannabinoids, and add them back in at higher quantities, and they're really cool. They're like hidden gems. So each one has its own special effect. For example, CBG is really good for inflammation and focus. CBN is a sedative cannabinoid. It's a muscle relaxant. It's a lot stronger than CBD per milligram. Then the one that you were talking about, THCV, that's an appetite suppressant. It's kind of like the antagonist to the THC munchie effect. So if you just use it without THC, it kind of, what I feel like is, puts me like in a flow state where I'm not even thinking about food or taking a break. It's just really good for productivity and energy.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of different ones, but those are kind of the major ones. CBDA, which is just raw CBD, is also really good for inflammation. I remember that they were showing some studies of how that's really good for immune protection.
Wow.
For different viruses and things like that. And yeah, it seems like every couple months they're touting a new minor cannabinoid. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we're just learning so. I mean, it's been about 8 years, 7 years, 8 years.
Yep.
2018 is when the Farm Bill hit, and I think it's I remember Delta 8 hitting around the same time, like right before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Delta 8 coming on real big, and
that was like the first.
That was the first
cannabinoid.
Yeah, but that was the first soiree into the something that might be psychoactive, something that actually might feel like,
right,
consuming cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we've learned so much about how the plant produces and the precursors and all those other things. But, I guess from your perspective, has the ability to isolate cannabinoids changed the way people use hemp and cannabis for health and wellness? I mean,
I guess it's kind of just like moving from generic medicine, like one size fits all, to more like precision wellness. So they're helping when you can isolate those minor cannabinoids, like we talked about. It just kind of lets you target specific issues like sleep. Obviously, CBN is a lot more effective than just taking CBD for sleep. CBG is going to be better for pain and things like that, or daytime use. Sometimes people need to take a lot of CBD for anxiety or something. It can have the side effect of drowsiness, and you can balance it out with a little bit of THCV or CBG. So just allowing us to kind of offer more tailor-fitted effects.
I remember saying it in my youth, like, the plant it's medicine. It has everything we need.
Right.
I don't necessarily knew if I even believed it. I was just like, I wanted weed to be legal. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things. Like, back then. Now, my personal journey, with this, I was on pain pills. I was on pain pills for 13 years.
Wow. And
I didn't like the person that the pain pills made me. You know what I mean? They change your personality, man. They turn off all the pain. They turn off the emotional pain too, and you don't feel shit.
Yep.
And
almost always that stuff comes at a cost with the side effects.
Yeah.
It worked really well in the beginning, but
right.
It starts to eat at
you. And I really, basically my prescription ran out, and if I wasn't terrified of needles, I might have turned to street drugs. But, I went to cannabis, and
thank God,
CBD, and, and it's really, it's worked out for me. I mean, yeah, I'm still kind of loopy and stupid, but I'm not mean. I'm much nicer than I was on Percocets. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But, you had mentioned earlier something about the entourage effect. Yep. Can you break that down for us? What the entourage effect is, and why it's better to combine the compounds than to isolate them.
Right. So, like, simply put, the entourage effect is just the idea or the fact that cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, everything that exists in the natural plant, it all works better together than it does in isolation. So, like, kind of the sum of the whole is better than the sum of its
parts. Yeah.
Something like that.
We say that at the show.
You could think of it like a band. So like every different compound plays its different rhythm or different frequency, and then they all come together to create just more of a balanced and long lasting effect.
Now we've talked about all these minor cannabinoids, and I didn't kind of mention anything in the pre-interview, but I kind of want to talk about terpenes real quick, because I find that the terpene mixture the THC count is great, but terpenes they have an effect. Mm-hmm. What terpenes are like on. Can you just give me a little bit of clarification on what a terpene is? Like what is that? I hear that word all the time. I don't know what it means.
Definitely, yeah. Just anytime you're smelling something from a plant, it's terpenes. So terpenes are like the aromatic messengers that plants have, and they do thousands of different functions, from like attracting insects to repelling insects to the plants communicate using terpenes. But simply put, they're the aroma particles, and that's why terpenes have a really potent medicinal effects. And you may do a simple experiment to notice it for yourself. Just slice up a lemon and take a deep breath of that. Immediately you feel a wave of relief just instantly. Like it's hard not to smile after you do that. And that's 100%, that's the terpenes. And something that makes cannabis really unique in relation to terpenes is generally like one species of plants will have just one terpene. So for example, lemons have limonene,
right?
Or oranges might have valentine and limonene, but it's all very similar terpene. But cannabis is very unique in that it contains a variety of different terpenes in one single plant. So you could have in one plant the limonene of a lemon, the peppery smell of black pepper. You could have like the musky smell of a mango. And those are all different terpenes that you would have to get lots of different plants together. But cannabis has it all in one.
Yeah, no, it's such an amazing, it's such an amazing plant. And it's such a wonderful like world that we live in. I think I commented on it all the time, how now the prohibition is gone. Basically, we're doing a soft rollout of everything. But I want to talk about Botana Organics, because from the first time I walked into your store, and you're sitting in your store right now. If anybody watching this video, that's the store, and it's welcoming. It's inviting. The people there are knowledgeable. You can go in there, and if you want to try something, you can just if you have an ailment, you go and start talking. He'll figure something out for you. That's basically what I've noticed. So you're not just another CBD shop. I mean, I just kind of said like what sets Botana Organics apart but what in your mind sets it apart from other hemp and wellness shops and even the gas stations out there?
That's a good question. I guess we're not about hype. We're not about trying to make money or sell stuff, but we're just really about holistic healing. So every product that you see in my store is like something that I feel passionate about, something I feel proud about putting into someone's life. We think of things like transparency, like the lab results, and you have to know what's actually contained in the products. The integrity about the companies that we carry, that their ingredients are good and they stand for good causes. And I guess just our mission, it's all about education. I think everyone should know about the endocannabinoid system, and it was never taught to us in school. I think that there's a lot of wellness, holistic tricks that no one really knows, but that are free, that we should all be there for each other and teach these things. And I guess to know a little bit about that, I kind of rewind and share my story. Like when I got involved in the CBD industry, it was back in Colorado when it first started off. And I kind of went out there with the mentality that like, okay, anyone that's dealing with cannabis weed is going to be like a moral person. They're going to care about health. They're going to not try to rip anyone off. But I quickly realized out there that it's almost like a gold rush, and it's like the wild, wild west. So there's a lot of mentality that I didn't expect. A lot of companies that only care about the bottom line. So I saw that and I was like, like how can I stand for like the change? Like cannabis should be a holistic, good mentality. It shouldn't be about ripping anyone off. It should be about giving people medicine that's truly healing and pure. So it all started there.
Yeah. So what kind of standards do you use to vet like the products on your shelves? So, I know there's a lot of shady shit out there.
Right.
How do you keep your customers safe, informed, and getting the most top quality product?
Definitely. Well, we just pretty simple. We just look at third-party lab testing. So every product that we carry has to be lab tested by a third party that's not getting paid off or anything, and has to be checked for the purity. So they check for things like mold and contaminants and heavy metals, pesticides, and all the like. But also the potency. So I read a study back in like 2020, I think it was like 64% of CBD products didn't actually contain the levels that they advertised.
Wow.
So you had a lot of people buying CBD on Amazon, and Amazon's not legally allowed to sell CBD. So they're really just getting hemp oil from the seeds and not the buds. So that kind of that stuff, the product potency and just the reliability of it is really important. So I learned early on how to read the COAs and just making sure that our customers make informed decisions, and that I wouldn't sell anything that I wouldn't give my own family.
Yeah, I know when CBD was like really making it the lotions that come on, it's hit the scene, so to speak. I tried it a couple times and I didn't. I mean, I was also on pain pills, so it's hard to feel anything. But it wasn't until like I really I got something, and I didn't believe it when I walked into Botana Organics and I started buying it. And I think I came and talked to you like the next week, and I was like, I couldn't believe how much mobility this cream had given me, like, and how well it worked. Yeah, so that's what's really kind of.
That's one thing I really learned how to like guard. Like, I guess I made it my mission early on, was I just saw so many CBD products are so inadequately dosed, or just the wrong method of, like, a lot of times like pain creams will be like a balm, and those don't really absorb very quickly into your skin. So I just kind of made it my mission, like, to find products that really work, that are really effective, so that people can tell a story and share it with their friend. Like, I tried the CBD balm and it really changed my day. So
yeah, no, I was
people saying I tried the CBD balm and it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah. I know, like I was in your shop the other day, and it was another customer, and somebody was talking to them, and they were the ointment that's on the shelf there, and he started talking about that, and she was on the fence, and I was like, no, that works. Like, that's the oil I was talking about. Like, I couldn't lift my arms over my head at one point, and then I started using that.
Yeah, and I've seen some miracles.
Yeah, literal miracles. I don't understand this next question. Oh yeah, okay. So what else do you offer that supports a full spectrum wellness lifestyle? Like, I picked up some of the you carry mud water.
Yeah,
that's important. You should be shouting that from the heavens, because I think people want to try that, but the introductory price kind of locks them out.
Yeah,
you have it at a pretty decent price, and it's delicious. It was fantastic. So you have I mean, I said at the top, you specialize in, but it's not exclusively hemp. What other type of what other wellness products right now do you see as you're on the scene, like Irish sea moss, for example?
That's
stuff like that. Yeah,
a lot of minerals in there. Well, CBD is just one piece of the puzzle, but obviously you need like your vitamins and other nutrition, and then we have a lot of different herbal tinctures and supplements that can help you with that. But yeah, just all about the holistic health. So we have things like sea moss. You mentioned mud water, like all different mushrooms. We got those that support different systems of your body. Like cordyceps is really good for the lungs. Lion's mane is really good for the brain.
Yeah.
He's really good for your blood pressure and stress. We got blends with all of them, adaptogens, teas. We have other topicals that are good for skin health. So we got it all. Whether you're rebuilding your nervous system or just trying to feel better day by day, we got some support for everyone.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like you're on the front lines every day in your store, seeing who's coming and going, making purchases. Do you feel like people are finally moving away from the stigma of cannabis and toward a more informed, empowered approach to plant-based wellness?
Yeah, definitely. And it's about time. I was actually a little bit shocked, like when I first started up, just how much people just think that CBD is a drug still. And even though it didn't get you high, there was a period of a couple years there where I think people were even afraid to come into the store. But it's definitely fading. People are realizing that cannabis isn't just some drug that's about escapism, but it's more about finding your equilibrium. So we're seeing people of all ages coming in and getting curious and becoming empowered, learning about how CBD actually works. Stigma is definitely not gone yet, because it does happen from time to time that we get some weird looks or some pressure from other people, but it's definitely cracking under the weight of the real testimonies and the real people's experiences.
Like you've got little old ladies popping by now, and
yep, definitely. Nice. Some 95-year-olds even.
That's the thing. I mean, all you have to really do is look at the customer base walking in, to know that this works.
True.
Because the people from it's not it's I'm back in the day. Used to go to New Hope. Used to go to the head shop, right? And they sold like Grateful Dead T-shirts. Place smelled like weed, but you couldn't buy any. Get the fuck out of here. They just weren't selling it to you. And then you know what I mean. But the same clientele went in there all the time. It's not just stoners and high school kids. You know what I mean? You can see a mix of people. So like, who do you think your typical customer actually is these days? It's just mostly like soccer moms and office workers, right? I mean, it's.
I feel like it's everyone, from stressed out parents to elders with joint pain, or people buying something for their parents with dementia.
Yeah.
Even people like me that 30 years old that are just trying to have a little bit of a buzz.
Yeah.
Got the THCA stuff
right.
like that now. Delta 9.
Oh yeah, the TH and
all walks of life.
Yeah. And I want to sing the praises of your selection, but I also don't want too many people to know about it. I'm kind of selfishly going, I don't know.
You got a good thing going here.
Yeah. A real good.
I do think maybe one area that I see like the more people are coming in, the fastest growing trend of populace is like middle-aged people that are they're finally sick of their pharmaceutical medicines and all the side effects that they're causing, and they're completely looking for natural alternatives. So there's a lot of people kind of going back to the roots. That's the biggest trend I see now.
Yeah, I mean, people just. Here's the thing: is we've gotten away from knowing what we're putting in our body.
Yeah,
we don't know what we're putting in our. Even like if you go buy the ingredients, you don't know how good those ingredients are.
Like all of our products are lab tested and stuff, but when was the last time your pizza was lab tested?
Right. Exactly. And it's even going to the grocery store. Everywhere we turn, like I remember I was listening to a press conference because RFK is banning all the food additives that are banned fucking everywhere else.
It's about time for that,
right? And it's like, they said the word petroleum food products, and I'm like, petroleum,
fossil fuels.
Yeah,
we're fucking eating petroleum.
Yeah,
and we're burning corn. What in the fuck is wrong with us?
Including a lot of pharmaceuticals. Speaking of that, like that's all fossil fuel based.
That's
they
where
actually pour rocket fuel into a lot of those in the raw ingredient.
yeah, so that's where I was. That's kind of where I was going. Is a lot of these medicines that we take are petroleum based,
Yep.
and it's like, and so they've been pumping us full of oil while prohibiting a plant that can do everything.
Yep.
That can, God's medicine put down upon. We just did a whole thing on the fact that 420 and falling on Easter made the Pope die. But so we were, the religion and this, and I don't understand why there are so many people who consider themselves to be religious who have prohibit this in their life, because it got lumped in with other more dangerous drugs because of fucking Nixon.
Even before Nixon, it was the oil companies who shouted it down, because hemp oil is like amazing.
Exactly.
You can make fuel out of it, that you can make biodiesel out of.
Right around the same time that the petroleum industry was starting is the same time they made cannabis illegal, because it was like a replacement for medicine, textiles, oil, fuel.
Almost anything you can do with petroleum, you can do with hemp.
Yep.
Byproduct.
Yep. Wow. I didn't even know that.
Only plant that can house you, heal you, and clothe you.
Yeah. Jesus. You don't think about it as you're, running it through your grinder and stuff in your bowl, but it really is,
I had a presentation a couple years back that I made up, like a little PowerPoint that we did at a restaurant, and it was all about the origins of cannabis. And a lot of the earliest archaeological evidence, period, is cannabis related. They found in Taiwan, I think 10,000 BC, they found ceramics with hemp fiber inside of them.
Oh wow!
So
I was
the first plant of civilization.
I've been watching these college lectures, because that's what I do now. I'm boring, but I watch like these history lectures by a history professor by the name of Roy Casagrande, and he's kind of a dickbag sometimes. Like, I don't like him, but I like the way he tells stories. You know what I mean? And he was saying that we actually get the word assassin from hashish, because there was a race of people who were they were good at two things. They were good at making growing hashish and killing people secretly, and they were called the Hashishans.
Wow.
And that's where we get assassin from. I don't know how accurate that is, but I like to hold it close to my heart.
I'm gonna put that's got a 20% chance of being some Henry Anslinger weed propaganda back from the 1930s. That's what we were just talking about with the petroleum industry.
Yeah, I don't.
All I know is next week there'll be a reading from Matty Rockdeff's letter to the Hashishans.
The letter from Matty Rockdeff to the Hashishans. You could be, you could be more accurate. I don't know. I hear shit and
strong stuff to knock them out like that.
Yeah. But so
must have been CBN.
What's CBN?
CBN is a sedative cannabinoid.
Okay.
Some CBN hash. That would do the trick.
So this next question is, what's your favorite beginner-friendly product or approach for someone who's curious about cannabis but maybe a little nervous to jump in? That's kind of a shit question, but
I would say just a THC-free CBD gummy. That way you can start at a low dose, maybe take half of the gummy. If you're feeling adventurous, you could take 2 gummies and maybe feel like a tiny bit of weight lifted off your shoulders type of feeling, but you won't feel THC in it.
Yeah, no, that's the exact feeling of CBD, all the weights off your shoulders.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's profound.
Yeah, it really is. It's a nice, when you get the dosage you've been told you're getting, and it's high quality CBD, because you can get really poor quality CBD. Yep. Depending on where it's harvested from, the quality of the plant,
Yep.
all that stuff.
And it's tricky too, because there's no one size fits all prescription for CBD. So a first timer, they may have a very sensitive endocannabinoid system. That's why I say like always start with half a gummy and just wait a couple hours and see how you tolerate that. And other people, they may have some chronic stress or some damage to their system, and they may take like 2 gummies a day for 5 days and not feel anything.
Yeah.
So whenever there's a beginner in our store, I always try to give them a little bit of that background information of taking time with CBD. It's really a lot less like a drug or like THC with potent effects that you can measure and realize right away. Right. It's more like something like vitamin D in that you need to take it consistently and for your levels to build up until you really notice that effect. So that's another little piece of advice I usually give people.
That's good. That's good advice, I think. I mean, as a
go slow.
That's right.
Yeah. You don't have to do what I do. Just do a little and see where you go.
Exactly.
just take a handful and see what happens. That's how we roll. That was the first time I ever walked into your shop. I bought either these little two pack for Delta 8 gummies for $5, and the girl told me, cut one in half, eat that, see how you do. I was like, cut one. I'm buying this from a store. I'm not cutting it in half. I'm eating both of them, and hopefully I'll get an effect. I was at home staring out the window, wondering, oh, Jesus Christ.
I think I did that too with those ones because everyone kept buying. I was like, what's the deal with these ones, man? Let me try this out.
Yeah.
Like, now I see.
Yeah, no, they hit hard. If someone tells you to cut. So that's anybody out there listening, watching, whatever, if somebody at that store tells you cut it in half, you should cut it in half.
Maybe cut it in half.
Just cut it in half.
You can always eat the other half.
You can always eat the other half later, right?
But you can never eat the other.
No, you can't. Once you're on that roller coaster, you're stuck.
No going back.
Sometimes I do that on purpose. I'm not gonna lie.
He chooses the number all.
Dude, this one time, my son had made a bunch of gummies. Right, this was before everything was legal. He made a bunch of gummies, but he said they're not that potent, and so he gave me like a handful of them, right? And then he goes, you know what? He goes into the fridge and he didn't finish making gummies, so he gives me a clump of just taffy, right? So me being me, I just took a big fucking bite. I'm at work and my boss comes in and he's going over. This is back when I was working for Shipmate. I was doing the product photography, and he's going over. So I charged for something, and I did. It was a special circumstance. Bill said, "Take one picture of this and charge for the full set," and so that's what I did. Right. And then 6 months later, Brian's coming to me going, "How come I only got one picture of this?" And then I was like, "No, that was it." I'm like, no, if you want me to set up and do again, you're paying me again. You know what I mean? And so as I'm talking to him, my mouth went dry, my eyes went dry, just everything went like
all in an instant.
Then I drove home. I thought every cop behind me I thought there was a guy behind me who had his phone mounted to his windshield. I thought he was recording me. Oh, it was horrible. Yeah, but sometimes I'll take that ride on just for fun. I don't recommend it to anybody.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, with that paranoia, like with the police, would that have really ever happened if weed was never illegal? I
often think that you wouldn't,
ruined it forever for us with that stigma because
what
we were talking about. And CBD is really helpful for that, by the way, too. CBD is anti-anxiety, it's anti-paranoia. And if you take about a 2-to-1 ratio with THC and CBD, you'll never experience any of that negative feeling.
2-to-1 CBD to THC?
There's got to be more CBD than THC.
I would have to ingest a lot of CBD. I'm willing to try, to be honest with you.
You're experienced also, so you may only need 1-to-1 or even 1-to-2.
Yeah. But now, do you not get CBD from just plain smoking it?
Generally, now it's 1% or less.
Really? They go for the high THC value as opposed to the balance.
Yeah, and that happened very recently. In like the 70s and 60s, it was about 1-to-1. So back then it was about 8% CBD and maybe 12% THC at the max.
Okay.
The plant can only hold about 25 to 30% cannabinoids.
Yeah.
So CBD and THC are the most abundant, but in just as recently as like 50, 60 years ago, it was 1-to-1 about. And now they selectively bred the plants that are stronger and stronger with the more potent effects that you feel right away. And they unknowingly bred CBD down to such a low amount that most strains have less than 1%. And CBD was only discovered about 20 years ago, I think, but with chromatography.
Wow.
So really know what they were breeding out, what they were missing. They were just feeling like the more effects that are potent with THC, but CBD is more long-lasting, balancing effects that you don't notice until weeks and weeks.
The way I see it, just this the way I look at it, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I feel like THC is the catalyst that makes everything else work. It gives you a psychotropic effect, but you need like it kind of, like you said, the entourage effect.
Yep.
You know, that's what catalysts do, or epoxies. You know what I mean? When they put the two things together, it's more than the sum of its parts, and that's it's exactly what
I think so too. Especially for conditions like pain.
Yeah,
CBD is really good, but if you add just a little bit of that THC, even to levels where you're taking so much CBD, the THC is so small that you won't actually feel any psychoactive effects from it. But that's when you really get a markedly different result with the pain.
Yeah, I mean, if you tune up that attitude a little bit, it always helps.
Yeah, absolutely. But I recommend you guys to everybody I know, even people out of fucking state. They go, "What do you get?" I go, "Dude, you got to go up to Botana Organics. It's the best." I mean, I tout you guys wherever I go. I love you guys. But so looking 5 to 10 years down the road, where do you see cannabinoids?
That's a good question. I think like kind of like we were saying earlier with the minor cannabinoids, it's all about the customized wellness approach. So it's going to be all about personalization and integration. I guess in the future, your custom cannabinoid blend will be tailored to whatever effects that you want to have, just like your smoothie with the maca root and the cinnamon. You're going to have your daily CBD with the THCV and the CBG and who knows what else. And I think it'll be a lot more normalized too. So it'll be something that's more talked about, probably a lot less regulations on things like social media so people can speak about it there. People are going to be talking about it at the dinner table, behind closed doors. And maybe we'll just start honoring this plant to its real potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I know that I've seen people that I thought would never waver.
Definitely.
Really embrace.
The tides are turning.
No, my mom. I smoked a bowl with my mom.
Wow.
A couple years ago. And my mom, I tell stories of how I had my own room in the basement and I had my own bathroom. But I smoked, right, as a kid, and I like cigarettes. And they used to have these thing called beaties. I don't know if you remember them, but they were Indian cigarettes. They were tobacco, but they looked like what joints look like now, only smaller. And my mom found a pack of those in my room. When I was 19, she came in. She started beating the living shit out of me. My mom was good for that though. Beating
the worst possible scenario for a mother to find that.
And I'm like, no. And it was like, it's funny because once she found out they were tobacco, she wasn't nearly as angry. You know what I mean?
She thought it was a weed. That's what
she thought it was weed. So then, but like I said, now with everything, my mom has dealt with incredible pain, and cannabis has brought her relief when she has a hard time with it, but it does bring her relief when it does. And my father won't smoke it, won't take it, but he doesn't fucking give you a lecture when he smells it outside.
Yeah. That's one of the coolest things about the CBD legalization is like it opened up the doors for a lot of the scientific research to be done.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Before, it was only stoners saying these things like it's good for cancer, and everyone's like, these guys are crazy. They just want to smoke. But now the science is actually catching up to it. I mean, it's very deep.
And two things can be true at the same time.
That's right.
I can just want to smoke, and this thing can be great for cancer patients.
Well, joy is medicine.
Joy is. You're absolutely right. That's what they say. Laughter is the best medicine.
Yep.
So I guess just a wrap up question, Jesse. If and I like this question a lot. If the vibe of Botana Organics were a cannabis strain, what would it be called, and what kind of high would it give you?
Nice. That's an interesting question. Well, I guess I'll make up my own strain name because that's what a lot of people are doing nowadays.
Yeah.
I would call it Roots and Radiance.
Roots and Radiance.
And it would be like a full body high that grounds you like a tree with the
Nice.
roots, but lifts up your spirit like sunlight through the open leaves.
Man, that's poetic. That's poetic.
That earthy and energizing, heart-opening, terpene effect.
Damn.
Really lift your spirits for a long-lasting high.
Nice.
All right, so how do we get that, and how much is it a gram?
From the Botana Organics.
Yeah, go to Botana Organics. Even if you've never done cannabis, if you've never even thought about it using a cannabis product for your ailments, if you're a seasoned professional like I am, no matter what your experience level or your issue is, Botana Organic, I promise they can help you. You know, I've never been disappointed when I walked in the door. So, Jesse, I want to thank you very much for your time. I know you stayed up late to hang out with us a little bit. I do appreciate it.
I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to have, anytime you want to come on, you just let me know, come hang out. If you got something you want to talk about, our door is open to you.
New products, legislation, whatever you're chasing, man.
Yeah, man. If you got,
there's always something new in this field.
There is always something new going on.
Yep.
So, thank you for your time, dude. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man.
Have a good one. Be safe.
All right, dude. We'll talk to you. So that was Jesse Ginefra of Botana Organics. Great interview. I love talking to him. I love hanging out with Jesse.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic guy. And as a matter of fact, I don't have one up right now, but.
Well, bottom line, that interview was a goddamn revelation.
Yeah, it was.
People still think cannabis is just for burnout bros giggling at Pineapple Express reruns. But Jesse's out there and he's running a wellness empire that's got soccer moms and stressed out desk jockeys trading their Xanax for CBG like it's a Black Friday sale. And the fact is, it's in Wilmington. Bro, Delaware is so boring. It makes oatmeal look like a rave. But Botana Organics is turning that snooze fest state into a cannabinoid utopia. I kind of resent that, but I read it for you. You wrote it, so I read it.
I didn't write it. Grok wrote it. That's all Grok's opinion, just so you know.
Oh, that tracks. That tracks. Grok's daddy doesn't like Delaware. Meanwhile, the feds are still arguing over legalization like it's 1985 and big weeds lurking like a corporate vulture ready to ruin everything. And that's why we need people like Jesse. Small shops keeping it real while the suits turn out cannabis to the next overpriced Starbucks latte. Fuck that noise. Light up, tune in, and let's burn down the stigma one blunt at a time.
I love it. Well, dude, you wouldn't buy sushi from a gas station, would you?
I don't think so.
So why are you trusting them with your CBD and THC? At Botana Organics, we take your wellness seriously. No mystery ingredients, no sketchy labels, and absolutely no, we swear it's CBD vibes. Our products are organically grown, lab tested, and crafted with the cleanest ingredients. Because your body deserves better than whatever's next to the nacho cheese dispenser. From calming oils to delicious gummies and soothing creams, every product is handpicked for optimal benefits and zero weird surprises. So skip this gas station gamble and trust Botana Organics, where everything is pure, potent, and definitely not stored next to the windshield wiper fluid. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yeah, and
Botana Organics, cultivating wellness naturally. Visit us at 3650 Riverside Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810, or check us out on the web at www.botanaorganics.com.
I'm sorry, dude. I went back to last week's script. I was mad scrolling trying to get to it.
No, I have a I have a document. I forgot.
Yeah, I don't have the
You
document.
have the document that just says Botana Organics, and you pull it up. I got it. That's that's my fault. So, well, that's it. We're getting ready for C Block, guys. What time is it? I got to shoot that link out.
All right.
So why don't you go ahead and wrap up the show, Mike, and I'll do
all right.
this.
Thanks for joining us in this 232nd B block. We had Jesse from Botana Organics here and chatted about all the good things he's got going on there in the world of cannabis. We'll be back for a C block shortly. This episode of the Media Virus Podcast is brought to you by 302-46 Voice. That's 302-46 Voice. If you want my voice on your project, dial 302-46 Voice today. Don't forget to check out our sister show on the Media Virus Podcast Network, Stepmoms Without Children. Join Ricky Rockdeff as she takes a deep dive into the fascinating people she meets and thinks that you should meet too. Find Stepmoms Without Children at themediavirus.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your fine podcasts. Special thanks to mysportsreports.com and delawaresports.com, delivering regional sports coverage straight to your devices via stream and podcast. Learn more at mysportsreports.com and delawaresports.com. If you wish to sponsor the Media Virus Podcast, email your contact information to pml@themediavirus.com with the subject line sponsor, or leave us a message at 646-VIRUS01. On behalf of the infection team and our feckless leader, Maddie Rockdeff, I'm the Reverend Professor Mike Latoris, coming from to you live high atop Uncle Butch Studios, with one hand firmly on the pulse and the other clawing for a shred of sanity. This has been the Media Virus Podcast. We'll be back next week. Find us at themediavirus.com, on social media, or download us now from your favorite podcast platform. So I'll put that back in like I did last week.